My name is Khairul Salleh, and I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence for higher education, teaching and learning. I'm from Malaysian Qualifications Agency, Malaysia, and I'm currently the Deputy CEO in charge of quality assurance. Now, before I go into the topic, allow me to briefly introduce myself and what I do. So my background is in engineering, in particular in mechanical engineering, focusing on robotics. And I received my education from Waseda University and also Kanazawa University in Japan. And I have been working with University Tenaga Nasional, a private university in Malaysia, and I'm currently being seconded to Malaysian Qualifications Agency in charge of quality assurance of higher education programs and institutions in Malaysia. My work so far has included various types of robotics, including a flutist robot, as well as robots that are doing clothes manipulation. And just to give you a better view of what I have been doing and I am doing so far, I present to you two of my current works. The one on the bottom left is a robot that is used to produce a mapping with regards to radioactive map inside an area, and the one on the right is involving a robot that is used to fold clothes. So the robot can actually detect the type of fabric and clothes that it is actually handling and be able to fold it accordingly. So these are just some of the works that I do. And then the one on the top left is an example of an inspection robot that we produce for the electricity utility company, which happens to be our parent company. Now, these are some of the other works that I have and am doing. The main work of our group involves inspection robots, home service robots, and also utilization of AI and machine learning, including deep learning in various areas, and also other types of robots as well. Now, if you want to know more about my work, you can always email me and we can talk further about joint research and also sharing of research works. Today's topic, going back to the topic, is about utilization of AI in teaching and learning in higher education. So the most important part about this AI that are used, being taught about in the past few months is about generative AI. AI that can generate something, whether it's text, it's image, it's a voice, it's a song, a video, and so on. So AI can generate many types of modalities, as I mentioned just now, and it is a game changer that society and industry need to be ready for. So this is according to the World Economic Forum. Now, what about the responses so far from the masses? So there have been mixed acceptance and thoughts about, for example, this generative AI. For example, we have ChatGPT. So in China, for example, Chinese technology firms had announced plans to create a ChatGPT style applications and create homegrown solutions. So there have been talk about rival apps being developed. And we know that ChatGPT is produced by OpenAI, and it's now being one of the most used apps out there. And certain countries and certain institutions doesn't allow the utilization of ChatGPT. And in many other countries or areas, there have been updates in regulations. And for example, in Malaysia, MQA or the Malaysian Qualifications Agency has published an advisory note on how to ethically and responsibly use this generative AI in higher education, and we have published this in March 2023. And some of the higher education institutions in the country, for example, we have University Putra Malaysia, has launched a guide for use of ChatGPT in teaching and learning. So we have these type of publications in Malaysia that actually talks about how to responsibly use ChatGPT. So in a way, in Malaysia, we are not banning or we are not saying no to the ChatGPT in general, but it is totally up to the institution to make that decision. So advisory note from MQA says that provides guidelines to the relevant stakeholders, namely the educators, the students, and the institutions. So the most important thing that we want to highlight here is, again, it's about the ethical use, responsible use of these generative AI, including ChatGPT. And this is just one example coming from University Putra Malaysia. And again, just to reiterate that we are now using a lot of GPT-based AI applications. For example, we have the text-based, such as ChatGPT. We have image-based. We can actually generate image. We have, for example, Midjourney. We have video producing AI, speech producing AI, and also audio producing AI. So you can actually compose and make your own songs using AI. And you can use different voices from different people to actually make voices for games, films, and also your own video. So we have all these modalities, and it's very important to understand from the perspective of an educator what these technology can do, because we need to be well versed with it in order for us to be able to monitor the performance and also how our students are progressing in their studies. So I'm not saying that we should be using it extensively, but at least as an educator, we need to be well versed with what are the technologies available and how students can use these technologies in the assessments, in the works that they do. And we need to be able to distinguish whether and be able to tell or judge whether the products or the work that is presented or submitted by the students are their own original work, or is it actually assisted by AI, or is it just purely plagiarized from the AI? So that is very important, and that is why we as educators, we need to be well versed with these apps as well. Okay, and just to explain about the ChatGPT, GPT itself is a generative pre-trained transformer. And that is basically the definition, and you can read from this text about what the meaning of GPT. And the GPT 3.0 or 3.5 has been used as a base to produce or to develop this ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 3 has been announced on November 2022, and we have now version 3.5. And of course, the evolution of the GPT itself is very, very fast. So we are expecting that the ChatGPT and other generative AI will also be improving very, very rapidly in the next few months, to say the least. And how can we use ChatGPT or other AI to actually help us with our teaching and learning? It actually help us to create lesson plans, questions answering, text classification, to provide creative ideas, fresh creative ideas or advice for a refined thought, create rubrics for assessment, translate sentences, and all these other things that you can actually do with AI. Okay, you can keep on interacting with it, ask it to refine and personalize your request. So iterations by iterations, you can actually use the prompt to actually refine and fine-tune the answers and suggestions from for example, from ChatGPT, and that is basically how you can fully utilize this ChatGPT. But of course, ChatGPT and other AI is not perfect. So it can be tricked, and some of the answers that is provided by ChatGPT may not be accurate. Okay, so it is up to us again, and the students who are using, for example, ChatGPT to assist them in doing their homeworks and so on, to be able to check. This is their responsibility to check the answers, check back the facts, whether it's correct or not, and then only, what they need to also do is to own the information, to own the knowledge, and then use that responsibility for them to actually produce their homeworks and assignments and so on. So as a lecturer, we also need to be able to advise our students so that they can actually utilize ChatGPT optimally, but not to rely too much on ChatGPT to do their work for them. And of course, AI in education is not new. We have always been using, for example, Turnitin. So to check against similarity, against plagiarism of the assignment submitted by our students. So the same applies to now we have AI tools to actually check the submissions of students against the usage of ChatGPT. So that is very important for us to know as well. There are available tools to assist us in at least checking these submissions of our students. Of course, AI has been always used in chatbots, in for example Grammarly, in Quillbot, and so on. And AI can be used for various areas in education. For example, for education management and delivery, for learning and assessment, which is the main part that I'm going to discuss today, and to empower teachers and enhance the teaching. So we can use AI to check plagiarism, against plagiarism detection, adaptive tests for differentiated assessments, and automated grading and grade prediction. So that's very useful tools using AI. Now, we also have AI to empower teachers and enhance teaching. We can use AI to attract the attendance of our students, personalized learning advisor, intelligent content recommendation, and virtual assistants as course tutoring chatbots. Okay, so I think these are some of the things that we can use AI for in higher education. Of course, there are also advantages of using generative AI such as ChatGPT. Advantage to the educators: it helps us to get information. It reduces time for searching. This is actually the same applicable to the students as well. So to be used for future research ideas and to write content and present research ideas and make education more interactive. Okay, and but of course there are some concerns. Of course, the main concerns will be whether the work submitted by the students are their original work or not. And that's why I keep on emphasizing that we need to be able to know what are the tools available to the students so that we can actually counter that through others as well. So, and this is just some survey from University Putra Malaysia in Malaysia about how useful is ChatGPT to you. And educators actually answered that it's very useful for teaching preparation, to generate research ideas, and to help or assist them in writing. Now, if you talk about the conventional way elements of teaching, this is generally the basic elements of teaching. We have these 8 principles or elements. We start from the planning and preparation, the instructional delivery, the assessment and evaluation, how we manage the classroom, the relationship between the student and the lecturers, and of course, this is utilization of technology is also important, and how we have different methodology and also approach in providing, in conducting teaching and learning is also important, and professional development, of course, of both the lecturers as well as the students. Now, these are just some guides to the educators on how we can use ChatGPT in activities. So, of course, we can allow students to use ChatGPT and have a discussion on the rules of its usage. So that's up to the individual lecturers to decide, or the institution can also have in institutional level rules in managing this ChatGPT. Okay, and of course, create more collaborative and discussion activities. So when you have more collaborative and discussion activities, the students, when they discuss, they do so from their own working and long-term memory. So they can look up for quick answers, but to carry on a conversation, most of the work comes from their own thinking. So after a discussion, students can recap the discussion and share their reflections about it, and that's much harder to do with a bot. So there's ways of doing embracing ChatGPT. Of course, the students can look up for answers, but they have to again own the answer and maybe use that answer to prompt for elaboration of further answers with regards to the subject. Okay, and of course, there's also we need to emphasize experiential learning and engage students in personalized elaboration that relate to their local surroundings and routines. Okay, and we have to also actually use ChatGPT. Okay, we can ask or conduct activity that requires students to use ChatGPT to answer questions related to a topic and experiment to identify questions that can't be answered. This will at least let the students think critically and dive deeper into the topic. Okay, and it's time to think about plagiarism and cheating, because now we have ChatGPT and other generative AI that bots created content against what the students create. So you can see from this diagram, okay, if the student simply utilizes the bot created answers, students plug prompt into AI and copy response and submit it to the teacher. So the students did not actually own the knowledge. They do not even think about the accuracy of the knowledge, and just simply use AI to generate the answers and submit to the teacher, or to the lecturer. So that may be considered as cheating or plagiarism. Against, okay, at the very far opposite, okay, the student who wrote all the assignment content without consulting AI or the internet. Of course, that is what we aspire the students to do. But again, whether that is in the current situation the best solution or not. So perhaps it's time to rethink about AI being a tool to assist the students in getting or the answer, and they then be able to create or to generate a better feedback or better answer that they can submit to the lecturer. Now, the most important thing is actually, as I said earlier, the students need to own the knowledge. Basically, it's important, even for us, when we use ChatGPT or any AI, we need to be able to own the knowledge, be able to understand what is being generated, and be able to tune it, refine it, be able to edit it, and that will be then the work collaboration between a bot, an AI, and also a human. Okay, so there's also guides for educators in terms of assessment. Okay, we need to be able to review our assessments and avoid straightforward questions or simple facts, because these are things that the students can easily ask ChatGPT, for example. Okay, ask current, complex, open, and real-world problem based on the contextual topic or issues discussed in your lesson. Okay, and be empowered with AI. Incorporate ChatGPT to personalize or draft a unique case study for each group or their group based on their interests, and level to use it in your authentic assessment. Include a section in assessments, assign assessments to let students to critique for improvements. Okay? What they got, if it fits, how to organize it, how to communicate it effectively, etc. And reflect their synthesis of the information gathering through their reading, internet searching, peer discussions, and ChatGPT responses they have used, and ask them to give their opinions and justifications. So this is again the part where we will let the students to own and actually be able to understand what they have actually obtained from ChatGPT. Okay, try different types of assessments that are more immune to AI. Okay, so you can also use ChatGPT to draft quiz questions and possible answers with feedback setting. Use ChatGPT to generate a draft rubric that you can then refine. So these are just some of the ways we can also leverage on ChatGPT to assist us in coming up with questions and rubrics. Okay, and there are tools out there to detect if the work has been produced by ChatGPT. We have Rightful, we have GPT-0, and so on and so forth. So this is also highlighted in the MQA advisory note on usage of generative AI in higher education. So we are advising the instructors and institutions that there are tools that are used to detect the product of GPT or ChatGPT in general. Okay, and of course, there are also suggestions to students, and I believe this is our role as an educator, as an institution, to be able to advise the students. Okay, so perhaps this can also be shared with your respective students. Okay, so it is very important. The most important thing is for them to not purely trust ChatGPT or any form of generative AI, but to check the answer or the solution provided against the real facts. Okay, so this is how learning can take place, and then if the students really understood this part, then they can actually use or maximize the utilization of generative AI to their advantage. Okay, so how can ChatGPT substitute teachers? So how can we actually potentially use ChatGPT, for example, as a teaching assistant? So what the students can do, they can submit a draft to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can provide feedback. That feedback can then be used for the students to improve the work, and then we'll use it to submit. Okay, as a lecturer, we can also use ChatGPT to check against the students' work. Okay, and utilizes the feedback to provide rubrics, supplies rubrics to the students. So ChatGPT can then provide feedback to students. Okay, we can also, if let's say the students and the lecturers use GPT appropriately, then it is not the one on the left, but it's more the one on the right. So in the one that is the bad case is that if the student just simply prompts the ChatGPT to provide a response and use it to submit to the lecturer. Okay, so that will then be translated directly to the grades, and if the lecturer can use apps to check against the submission, whether it's being generated by AI or not, then that can be reflected in the grades given to the students. So now the more ethical way, and perhaps again what has been discussed earlier, is that the students can use the feedback from the AI to actually improve and check again, be able to use it as a draft, they improvise it, and they own it, and then only they submit to the lecturer. So then if it's on the left side, the grades may not reflect the student mastery because ChatGPT short circuits the student effort. But if the one on the right, the grades reflect the student mastery since ChatGPT engages students in a productive struggle. Okay, and AI is something that is used now everywhere. So there is also a guidelines by UNESCO on AI curricula school for the K-12 system. Okay, so it's something that is we need to embrace, yeah, even at the school level, not only at the higher education level. And this is AI and education guidance for policymakers. So we can also take a look at this publication from UNESCO. And for Malaysia, for example, we also have the National Roadmap for Artificial Intelligence 2021-2025. And it is highlighted in this national roadmap, the principles for responsible AI. So I think, again, using AI responsibly is important for both the students, the lecturers, and all the stakeholders. Okay, and of course, this is also before I end, we can actually, if we can manage as an educator to have a general understanding of AI and how it can be used in education, we can be a superhero educator. Okay, and these are just some of the 5 key points that you may want to consider: to personalize learning experience, to assist with grading and provide feedback, to create interactive and immersive learning environment, to be aware of the potential ethical implications of using AI in education. And also, it is very important for educators to stay up to date on developments and best practices for incorporating AI in their teaching. So we also need to be keeping ourselves up to date with the technology that is available around us. Okay, so if we teach today's student as we thought yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. This is